What's happening? Allison Metcalf Palumbo, how are you? Third Eye Open, good to see you. Kristen Melinda, you doing all right? Incarnasoul, Jason P, how are you? Jane Aldrich, hope you're doing okay. Yarn Prepper, Shannon Smith, Lisa Trimble, hello, my friend. Willow Wren, good to see you. Cassandra, it is Tommy time, I hope. Goddess Divine, good to see you. My brother's going to be lurking. Deanna Downey, how are you? Nesquik Milk, glad you're here. Thank you. Diddy Razzle Dazzle, what's happening? Hey, PD. Sounds like police department. Freaks me out a little bit, PD. We're going to let it slide. Christian B, how are you? Hey, Monica, what's happening? Anna, did I understand correctly that you finally got to sleep after a couple of weeks? If that's the case, thank God. I'm really glad to hear that you got some rest. I know, man, I struggled with that for a lot of years, man. Insomnia sucks. Donna, good to see you. Tori, what's happening, Leslie girl? What's the story, Tori? Hey, Martha. I'm glad you're here. Elamac, 8890. Good to see you. Good to see you. Subi, what's happening? Hey, little bubble. Chili Karen from Oz. Oh, wow. Love it. Malachi. Just a touch under 3 months. I got that name right. Mara, good to see you. Jay Rambo, what's happening? Laura Lou. Hey, Brown Spotted Eagle. Karma Chameleon. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Actually, you know something? That's one of those things that we say when we don't mean. I'm not doing well. Tip 420, how are you? Honestly, I am not doing well. Kiki Cookerson. I'm doing well from a business sense. I'm having a great time. Some nobody, good to see you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You know what? That means a lot to me, believe it or not. Why is my... There we go. Get that thing. Sorry about that. I know I'm jumping all over the place like there's something wrong with the setup. I apologize. Pat Hansen. How are you, Pat Hansen? There she is. Lisa Trimble. Good to see you. Wine a little bit more. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun. I'm telling you, people, I'm not joking. I love going on the Sean Atwood program. Charby, how are you? Brenda Solieri, good to see you. Crafty Witch, do I understand you're dressing up as some scary character, you and your husband? Persimmon, how are you? Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Lisa Trimble, for the never-ending support. I am really, really happy that everybody dug it. I honestly have a very good time doing that. You know, this is legit because I have not been, haven't been very good to myself. It's not. I'm not doing what I did last time. I'm not burning the candle at both ends. I'm really not. But I am putting in some long hours, and the screen time becomes a freaking issue. You know, I don't know whether or not you guys realize this, but this service that we use here, StreamYard, has a blackout screen, which is lovely. When I'm broadcasting, I don't have a white screen always in my face. I can turn it to dark if I need to. I have a slightly harder time reading it, but you know what? I think it's just a matter of it's not. You know, I shouldn't say that I'm not doing well because I am. Rose, Island Girl, good to see you. I think I'm getting a little bit too much screen time, and I'm going to be backing off a bit. Hey, Lemon Tree, very pretty. Avina Sativa, how are you? Good to see you. So, I reported earlier today something that came out last night. Now, a lot of people are reporting that there was a new batch of lawsuits coming out from Busby, this cat in Texas. He's the one that is handling all of the civil cases in the Diddy lawsuit, right? The most recent allegations is of a 13-year-old girl who tried to get into the VMA awards by apparently asking one of the Diddy's limo drivers from bodyguard who was near a limo. Couldn't get into the VMAs, but got an invite to the after party where she had to sign an NDA because if you have a 13-year-old come to your party, it's probably a good idea to have a 13-year-old girl sign a non-disclosure agreement. This guy is really different, man. Really, really different. What kind of journals do I use? You know, people send me tons of them, but this is usually what I buy. I usually just buy composition notebook things. And the reason I do that is because they sold them in the joint. Straight up. And this is what I started to journal on. And you know what? It's just absolutely awful, but it's a fact that you get into a mindset. And if I look down at something different and the size is different, I don't know. I have to kind of stick with this. I know that seems awful, but it is awful. It's a disgusting, right? Now, it gets worse. This girl goes to the party. She signs the non-disclosure agreement. She's given a drink that tastes a little like orange juice. I think I said cranberry juice last time. Orange juice, a little bitter, and almost immediately started to feel a little bit lightheaded, a little bit woozy, and looked for a place to lie down. After she did, 3 people followed her in. Hey, Manuel Lubian, good to see you. 3 people followed her in. One of them was allegedly Sean Diddy Combs. Riley's Human, good to see you. So this is one of those disgusting stories, right? That when it comes out, it makes you grit your teeth. It gets to the point where you think everybody in Hollywood is evil. 3 people entered that room. All of them apparently are celebrities. John Combs and the 2 other individuals, one a male and one a female. And I know that a lot of people are going to go, my God, a woman watched a 13-year-old girl essayed. That is the allegation, that the 2 men in the room allegedly assaulted this 13-year-old girl, who is a 37-year-old woman now, while the celebrity female just watched. This is the level of depravity, right? This is the level of depravity that we're seeing coming out in every one of these lawsuits. And I think that we're getting into a very interesting part of this case. And I'm going to throw out some stuff right now that is my opinion. Caroline in the moment, good to see you. This is purely opinion. You hear me? This is purely opinion. Hey, Deborah. You Will and Jada, right? Okay, so there's going to be a lot of this going on, right? There's a lot of this going on, yeah? Because it's one of those things where all of a sudden you start looking back, right? Start doing the math. This is the 2000 VMAs, and you start going back and looking at pictures, and you start to watch the VMAs, right? Yeah, because I learned about this last night. I get up really early. I get up at about 4 a.m. usually. And I started looking at the VMAs in fast speed. J-Lo won an award at that VMA. She was super surprised, super excited. A lot of pictures of her and Diddy. I don't know. A lot of speculation right now, right? A lot of speculation. But this is a very different thing than Epstein, right? These 2 cases get brought up and compared constantly, right? Constantly. There's a very big difference between what's happening right now and what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. What's happening right now is we have 2 parallel train wrecks, right? We have 2 trains that are on the same track, and they're going about 400 miles an hour head on to one another. One of these runaway trains is a RICO case that was been brought by the federal government that alleges, well, you know what it alleges, and if I say it this early in the show, we'll get this thing buried. But you know what he's accused of doing, right? And it's the reason that Homeland Security was brought in, because they deal with this kind of thing specifically, right? Well, the other runaway train is this lawsuit or lawsuits that are being brought by Busby out of Houston. This is the freight train we didn't have when the Epstein stuff was going on, right? They buried that. If there's anybody that doesn't believe that, God bless you. I still like you. Trust me. Everything about that was buried. We didn't learn anything. There's no list of people. Everything that should have happened didn't. This time around, this first Jane Doe case of the VMA accusations, the allegedly, what happened at the VMA after party. For the first time now, we've got a crime, right? We got some stars in here, and this is a crime. So NDAs and let's cut a deal, give me $30 million or whatever. This isn't going to go away. These stars can't buy their way out of this one. And I would imagine I would imagine that the woman and man who are in this, they got to know, right? They know exactly who they are. They know who they are. And when this allegation came out, I would imagine a lot of people are getting even more and more afraid. Guess what? This is the tip of the iceberg. We know that almost half of the lawsuits originally that he was bringing are minors, right? That means any stars that get named in those particular lawsuits are going to get damaged in their career at a minimum, right? Or they're going to get completely destroyed and they're going to visit the same facilities that P. Diddy is going to be living in. Really the only options, right? Ashton Kutcher is a name that keeps coming up again and again and again. Look at what happened when this cat wrote a letter to the judge in support of his friend, Danny Masterson, right? That literally has made he and his wife kind of really shy away from public view. He more so than the wife, I think. In addition to this, right, they were part of a group that was in the process of trying to help kids, right? This is a software that would look for people running ads for like escorts and things online. And it's supposed to be able to distinguish between adults and kids with facial recognition software, all this stuff. The software being used, no bueno, right? It's got a lot of errors, especially when it comes to people who are not white. It's absolutely horrific at spotting faces for people who aren't white. They ran the Library of Congress through this. I'm sorry, all of the members of Congress through this software for giggles, right? And the software picked out like 20 of them that said, yeah, all of these guys have been arrested. Wow. None of them had. But anyway, last year they brought in about $18 million. That's a lot of cash. Really is a lot of cash. If you follow that money, 14 million of it got paid out to the people running it. Seemed like a lot of salary. I mean, how many? It seems like a lot of money in salary. This is something that he started with Demi Moore. She was Demi, I think, like when we first heard about her. I never understood that one. If you're from the 80s, you remember when she was Demi? Anyway, Demi Moore was the person who started this with Ashton Kutcher. And he has since stepped down off of the board because all of these cats are becoming radioactive. There is no amount of money out there that a star wouldn't pay right now to our friend Mr. Busby to ensure that their name and their brand isn't associated with this cancer. Because that's where we're at, right? If they can tie you to an alleged freak off, the court of public opinion, which has become the judge, jury, and executioner of public opinion, is going to destroy your career, your name brand. If you happen to have a deal with Rolex, you're going to lose it. If you happen to have a deal with Chevy, you're going to lose it. Everybody and their brother is going to bail. And your net worth is going to plummet. You know, people say, how did Diddy lose so much money so fast? I mean, I'm sure a lot of it got stashed. But you got to realize that when all of your businesses tank at the same time, you're going to be left with stuff. You're holding the bag. There's a lot of Sean John stuff out there that they're going to end up in landfills because nobody wants the stuff anymore, right? It's now literally worthless. Same with all the perfume and all of the cologne and all of this stuff. Eyeglasses. Everybody is running like hell and going, yeah, we didn't really know him, and I went to a couple of parties, but I was left by 5 o'clock. The sprint in the opposite direction, right, from this cancer that is grown now, right? This is getting bigger than Diddy. There were 2 people named today. One of them is an R word, right? Ist. Just a lousy piece of crap that helped Diddy essay a 13-year-old girl, right? Hey, Tony Suter, what's happening? There's something seriously wrong with this. It's now getting bigger, and we're going to see it get bigger and bigger. Donna, thank you so much. I promise you, this is tip of the iceberg stuff. Now, if you're the attorney, and I'll say this in my humble opinion, this attorney is playing this better than you possibly could have, right? How could you play this better? First, you come out and you say, here's the first batch of of lawsuits. There's no mention of any minors, right? But I promise you, they reached out to some stars, and they've already admitted that there are people cutting deals right now to go, here's $10 million, and we stop talking about this right now. Let's make this go away, right? Because literally your brand is done. Your brand is done. What's the connection to the Bahamas? He ran off to back a lot of these individuals vacation or own homes in the Bahamas. There could be any number of reasons for this. I personally believe it's, as sad as this is, because it's so much fun to come up with theories. It really is. But sometimes the Occam's razor kind of a thing is, you know what? It's pretty much the closest island that we can go to, right? Bermuda is about the same, but this is the Bahamas are an island chain. It's 900 islands or something, tons of them, and they're right off the coast. You can get there really, really quickly. It's like going to the islands without having to go to the islands. It's like being in Florida but going to the islands, right? The Bahamas are great, and I think that may be as simple as that. And I know that that's not nearly as much fun, but I kind of feel like that may be the case. Yeah, this is a great comment. This is a great comment if you're old, right? If you're old. Remember the time when people were openly and actively burning all of their Milli Vanilli records in public? Yeah, and anything else they had, lunchboxes, sweatshirts, anything that they had that said, what were their names? Fab was one of them. I don't remember the other. But they were lip singers, right? If you're really young and you don't know Milli Vanilli, they were Artist of the Year, the Grammys, new Artist of the Year. Unfortunately, they didn't sing, right? They faked it. And once that was found out, people did get really, really angry. They felt like the wool had been pulled over their eyes. This is what's happening right now to a great degree. There are a lot of people that are just so disgusted with this. I think the dark is coming to light with sunshine and fireworks. I believe the next years or two is going to be an epic shift in our reality. The evil is on display and the good is taking over. And there are players, and thank you so much for the support too. It's a great comment. There are players that are popping out in this show now, right? Like our attorney friend in Houston. As I said, he played this perfect, right? First, he starts with people coming in and doing catch and kill kind of deals, right? You want to settle this? Want to keep your name out of this? Obviously, these are accusations that these people believe don't need to be turned over to the authorities if they can cut some form of deal the right way. And there are probably people who are just like a tangential kind. They're not in there doing the things Diddy is doing, but maybe the person commented on them in the lawsuit or whatever. This is an opportunity for the lawyer to make a lot of money. These people to get paid for some of the stuff that's happened to these individuals, right? It almost seems to me to be like a win-win, right? Then Sunday night, right? This came out last night. First lawsuit that comes out and says, oh, by the way, there were stars there and they were involved. Yeah, involved in the actual assault, one of them, and the other just sat there and watched. So what happens is when the law gets broken, the great question on everybody's mind, absolutely no two ways about it, is when are they going to start to drop these names, right? When are they going to start to drop these names? And there is, right before going live, and I do mean right before going live, I was sitting here and I saw, I have an iPad here. I have a computer. This is all geeked out now. And somebody with a very large channel had put up a video, much bigger channel than me. That doesn't always necessarily mean anything, by the way, but it is a bigger channel than me. And the video they had put up already had 6 figures in views, right? Already over 100,000 views in like an hour. Clickbaity title. I had not had an opportunity to go through the entire thing, but the title of the video said, Judge rules, names will be released now. You can run away from my channel and go look that up if you want to. But I don't know whether or not that's legit or not. And I don't like bringing rumor here unless I tell you I know it's a rumor. Real as it gets says, I never watched any of the award shows. It should not be allowed on TV because it is so demonic. Well, Number one, I'm not going to disagree with you, right? And number two, they're rigged. They're absolutely rigged, right? Do you realize that Jay-Z's got 24 Grammys? Seriously, Jay-Z's got 24 Grammys. The biggest selling rap album, like debut album of all time, like bigger than Eminem and bigger than anybody, was 50 Cent. He doesn't have one, right? He had more number one hits on his first album than the Beatles had on their first album. You don't get a Grammy. And then and Mrs. Carter, right? Between the two of them, they got 50 some odd Grammys because all of this is rigged. You get it? All of it. They're handpicking the people that are going to be stars. They don't have to have talent, right? Don't worry about it. We can auto-tune the crap out of that. You don't have to be able to write your own stuff. Don't worry about it. We'll get a ghostwriter, a la Milli Vanilli, except you're going to have to actually go out there and sing. But, you know, and I'm not disparaging any of this. I'm not. I don't care. I prefer people that play instruments, but I don't care. I really don't. It's not my genre. But it's fixed. And if it's fixed at every aspect of it, there's a reason that they're doing this. And the reason is not, well, let's make Jay-Z cool. Let's make Beyonce cool. No, man. No, there's rhyme or reason to all of the stuff that's going on. And it is fixed, right? I don't think anybody can argue. Grammys are absolutely a joke. Look at the people that they give awards to. And the people that they shine. Tupac never got a Grammy. Does that seem odd to you? Well, they handpick. Right? There's a play going on here. And we've all been in the middle of it for so freaking long. But I believe Cat Williams said it best when he said, all truths will come out, right? All of these people, doesn't matter, right? Whether you're an actor or whether you're an athlete or maybe you're clergy, right? There's a lot of people that are going to come away from this stinking really, really bad. When I was in the Bahamas in April, they promoted their banking being unknown to the IRS. Well, I've been there a few times, and now I like them more. I'm kidding. If you're an IRS agent, I love you guys. Seriously, nothing's more fun than paying taxes. Thank you so much, Mara. I appreciate the support. Joe Birdwell, what's happening, my man? Sent you an email today. And I hope life is good. Well, actually, I sent you an email last night. But hey, Jerons, how are you? Jay Rambo. So this is where we're at, folks. This is where we're at. Now, I believe wholeheartedly that we're going to see names start to tumble out of this. I really do. And I think that Busby, now you can go ahead, right? Moonchild Pink, you can go ahead and be a cynic if you want to go that route, right? If you want to be cynical, you can be cynical. If you want to go another route, it's completely up to you. But this cancer that is the entertainment industry, right? If you're cynical, you could think to yourself, this is all a setup. And the reason that Busby is releasing all of this info the way he's doing it is because it's one of these things. And you're not looking right here, right? You're not looking right here because he's making all kinds of noise over here, like right before an election. It's a theory, right? It's just a theory. But whatever this is that we're watching, and I'm a part of it, right? And I'm going to continue to be a part of it. But this phenomenon that's going on is certainly distracting people from everything else going on in life, right? Hey, I caught a live. Nice. Personal opinion on the Diddy thing. One tough chick says he's an evil scumbag, should rot in hell. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's a pretty good chance that's going to happen. Lisa Trimble is turning people green, tossing those puppies out there like hot sauce packets. Thank you, my friend. Hey, Texas shenanigans. I love the word shenanigans. I really have always been a very big fan of the word shenanigans. I am Cordy says, I don't think we'll get names. These are felonies, right? I think there are a lot of names and a lot of people that are going to dodge bullets. I promise you. There's going to be a lot of people that dodge bullets with their money. But like I said, you could be a cynic and say that this is all a complete setup. Or you could say that the stars have come together for the first time so that people like Diddy, right? When those cases are going and the powers that be just want to go, you know what, man, Epstein this dude, right? Or let's cut a deal and make this go away, because there's a lot of, at the same time, you got 120, right, civil cases, and trust and believe there's going to be more, right? Trust and believe there's going to be more. But these civil cases running parallel at the same time are bringing up crimes. Non-disclosure agreements do not stand up with crimes. Ask Cassie. Everything we're talking about right now, right? If you don't know who victim one is, then you did not read her lawsuit, any of it, right? This what they're saying reads like they took it directly out of the first two lawsuits, right? The first two lawsuits. And there are 9 people in the first two lawsuits. You remember hearing this stuff. We tend to forget, but remember the rapper that dated Nicki Minaj. You remember that? These were all, and the guy that had a successful Vegas residency. They're not coming out saying Usher. They're not coming out and saying Meek Mills. They're not doing that, but they're doing that, right? They're laying out all of the names of who these people are. That was out of the first two, right, of those civil suits. That's where the names came out of the first ones. This that we're seeing with Busby is going to get names. Names are going to drop, because how do you make the fact that you did this to a 13-year-old go away, right? Cash doesn't do that. Cash doesn't do that. What you just did isn't just breaking the law, right? It's breaking the law, right? This is not just something that you're going to get sentenced on, right? This is something that you're going to get sentenced on and then live in hell, right? If you've done time, you know what I'm talking about. But people with this jacket, right, and inside the fence, you refer to the file on you that has all of your crap in it as your jacket, right? And you can get a stain on your jacket, and once you do, it's never coming off. Now, there are different degrees to that, right? I mean, there was a guy that was in our unit who had a case where he ripped off a bunch of people, right? He was a con man, and I did a lot of that myself. This guy very specifically targeted old people, right? And the fellas are not fond of anything that targets old people, because it smells a lot like you're going after people that you can victimize because they're not in as solid a spot to fight, so to speak, right? And it's annoying. All of those guys have a mother, right? Every convict out there's got a mom. And the thought that there's people out there just calling up your mom and trying to steal money from her, that guy did really tough time. He didn't do tough time like a chomo. I mean, he was allowed on general population yards. They let him walk it. But there were a lot of people that took umbrage with what he did and said stuff like, hey, can I get a one-on-one with this guy? Right? You ask the shot caller. I'm not a huge fan of Tommy Sherlock. Can the two of us go catch a cell, right? Do a little knuckling. If the shot caller goes, yeah, go ahead. You have two options. You go in there and fight the guy, right? And you can stay on the yard. You go in to get your butt kicked. You can still stay on the yard, and nothing dirty goes on your jacket. If you decide, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't think I want to fight this guy. So you go up to your caseworker, you go up to the cop and say, help. Okay, your jacket's shot forever, okay? But if you come in with the charges that Diddy's got, you can't go to a normal yard from Jump Street. You're going to have to go to a yard like Danny Masterson, although he's in a state facility, right? Believe it or not, the crime that he did, right? What makes this stuff federal is because Diddy, short note, Diddy had jets and was jetting all over the country. When you cross those imaginary lines, right? When you cross those imaginary lines that chunk this country up into 50 different states, then you're in trouble. Right now, you're talking about a bunch of federal offenses, not to mention the fact that what they were doing in itself, right? Those rackets are all federal. I hope Snoop is not secretly awful. He was starting to become really likable to me. That would be disappointing. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not seeing any of it. I'm not seeing any of it. I have no, not one way or the other, because this was not my music. This was not my genre. I just didn't get into any of it. So, and full disclosure, I started this solely because of the crime aspect. I've learned a lot about it, but not the way a lot of you did, right? By living it. So it's different. But this is a cat that I there's no smoke even. There's nothing really out there that says this guy was attending those kind of parties. And you got to believe, right? You have got to believe. Maybe there's a couple, right? Maybe there's a couple of people out there that don't look at every person that walks up like, let's drug her or let's drug him, right? This was so mother-loving pervasive, right? That it's been a not a secret, but an open, out in the open secret for decades that you go to one of those parties, you might not want to take a drink. Right? You know, if they offer you something to drink, be careful. If you've ever heard his parties described by people that have been there, they said that the people that the staff are not dressed up in like, you know, waist jackets and stuff, you know, tuxedos. So they look like people who are there to serve you. They look like they could be party goers or people on the street or whatever. And the second you set down, right, a glass of water or whatever, there's somebody there handing you a drink, and it's seamless. They say they watch people until a person starts, you know, milling about or whatever, and they'll be there with the hors d'oeuvres because they know when that person is starting to look like maybe they need a little bit of food or maybe they need a little protein. I'm not joking. This was so structured and so messed up, right, that this screams Rico, right? When we start to see them go, okay, now it's time to go and arrest all of the people, right? All of the people who were involved in this. Avina Sativa says, Sloan Bella says the Carters are going to try to flee the country on a plane in 2028. My recommendation to the Carters would be you might want to, if you happen to be watching, right? Either of you, if you happen to be watching, I wouldn't put that off until 28 if I were you, right? Just an opinion. I wouldn't put that off until 2028. I've spoken to other content creators, right? Obviously, I'm talking a lot to Sean Atwood and his team. I talked to Joel, or at least text with him every day. This is so much different than anything that anybody's ever seen. And at the beginning of this, when I started doing the videos, I got so many emails from people that said, you know what? Who cares? It's a recurring thing, right? A lot of people out there who don't follow hip hop or don't follow culture, right? Like popular culture. For a lot of people, this is just a stupid, you know, some rap star. Why are we even talking about this? Like, this isn't news, right? I get emails chastising the crap out of me. You know, why do you care, Tommy? Why do you care? And my answer will always be, I care because for 3 decades, it doesn't look like anybody else did, right? I'm of the firm belief that all of us who are watching this, the way I'm watching this, feel the same way, right? Not on my watch. Maybe this went on for 3 freaking decades because we didn't know what's going on, right? Now the whole world knows what's going on. And you ain't sweeping this one under the carpet, right? Like you did with the last one. Fortunately, right, we got 2 parallel tracks. We've got that legal case. And then we got those civil actions. You realize none of these things should ever be civil, according to Hoyle, according to the law. These aren't civil cases. SA is a crime. However, if the crime is 25 years old and the statute of limitation on it is up, this gave the opportunity for people to go and try to get financial compensation for things that were done to them in the past. That was not around for Epstein. In fact, wasn't around for anybody. Wasn't around for Harvey Weinstein, right? Wasn't around for anybody. But it's around now. And this is what is changing the game. And I wonder if the gatekeepers realized what was going to happen. I wonder if the gatekeepers, the people that were running this show, because I don't believe, and I never will, right, that Diddy pulled this off. Sorry, I don't buy it. I think that they're, like somebody has said here before, you get everything put together, right? You get this whole thing ready to roll. You know what the plan is. And then you wait for that individual who is so devoid and bereft of any kind of conscience, right? Somebody that is so downright friggin' evil that they fit into that round hole, right? Or that square plug or whatever. And Diddy was that cat, to be sure. And that's what I believe happened. I believe it was the same thing with Epstein. And I believe, I said this on the Sean Atwood program, I also believe, this is me, I believe all of the people that say, allegedly, this cat worked with the FBI and had a CI number, right? This guy, a CI number means you're a confidential informant, no longer a name, right? Because they don't want people to find out you're a rat, because rats get stitches, right? Or ditches, as the boys say inside, right? Snitches get ditches. Right? They get buried. But that's the idea. You follow? You follow? Hello, Mo Love. We find ourselves, people, at very interesting times. You know, here's the thing. I'll be honest, real as it gets. I'll be honest, and I'm not trying to take exception, to anybody. But I will say that I'm certainly not finding any dirt about him being at Diddy parties, which is what I said. I'm not finding any dirt that links him to any of this kind of stuff. If he's out doing right, I certainly can't attest to that. He's not leaving much of a trail. All right, so definitely a lot more difficult to find anything on that dude than, say, Wilmer Valderrama, right? Or anybody, for that matter. I shouldn't say that. That's awful. Topher Grace, I apologize. To anybody else on that 70s show, right? The kids on that show all seem to be, I don't know, man. The DRD, you guys know what DRD is, right? Date, right? The chemicals used. All right, well, there was an awful lot of that going on with Danny Masterson, and we know this. We know the years that these happened because the guy's in prison doing time on it, right? So we were looking at 2001 to 2003 is the time that Masterson was doing this and using chemicals to do what he was doing. At that time, they were kicking it. They were having their Rat Pack. It was Wilder Valderrama was part of it. Then you got Ashton, Kutcher, you got Danny Masterson, you got P. Diddy, and you got Jamie Foxx. And these guys were getting dolled up, right? And they were going out to try to be the new incarnation of the Rat Pack. Hello, Wharton Thistle. I would really like to believe that the first Rat Pack wasn't doing this. However, I don't know that I can say that. Again, I'm not trying to smut up anybody that's dead. I'm not making any allegations against anybody that's dead. I'm not even doing the allegedly thing. But what I will tell you is that the more I start to look at all of this, right, every bit of it, I've done shows on Nickelodeon, what happened to kids in that. This seems to me to be systematic, right? And we put up with it, don't we? Because Wilmer Valderrama didn't date anybody that was above the age of 18. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the cat, but let's be really honest, right? He was dating Lindsay Lohan. He was 24. She was 17, right? And they'd be spotted in LA and he'd have his tongue down her throat. And they would take pictures of that would end up on the cover of People magazine or on the cover of Us magazine or whatever. Then she would go on the talk show circuit and say, I'm 17. He's 24. Nothing could possibly happen. But I promise you, watch this guy when he goes on Howard Stern. Let me rephrase that. Don't watch when he went on Howard Stern. If you've never seen Wilmer Valderrama's interview on Howard Stern, I will save you the time and tell you that he took credit for sleeping with just about every single person in Hollywood that was any way close to him. Let's see here. See if we got any notes, because this cat did an awful lot of stuff here. Well, Mandy Moore was 15. He was 19 when they started hanging out, right? Fact. Now, again, he was always, or they were always really smart to always say to the press, he's really like a big brother because he's so much older than I am. We really couldn't be anything but friends. Boy, they all end up being more than friends. On the Howard Stern show, he said that he was the guy that deflowered, right? Mandy Moore. Mandy Moore 10 years later went on Howard Stern herself and went, nope, he sure wasn't. So not only is the guy a lowlife, but he's a liar that does that locker room crap that dudes do in high school. Now, I realize that, first of all, it's just a classless. If you're going out and bragging about people that you're not with, but you want to tell people that, yeah, and I did that. No, I did her. Come on, man. Seriously, how low budget is that? His next conquest, Ashley Simpson, he met allegedly at 18. And she kind of goes back and forth, never really part of them, but they wrote songs and fought back and forth with Lindsay Lohan, right? Lindsay Lohan was 17. He was 24. And again, on her 18th birthday, I think it was about an hour and a half after her 18th birthday when they started to say, hey, guess what? That relationship has blossomed into a little bit more than, why have we been accepting this for as long as we have? Right? For real. There's nobody listening to me that doesn't know, right? Hands down, that Jay-Z started to hang out with Beyonce when she was how old? Right? They weren't together before she was 18, right? The whole world knows. He went on Charlie Rose and slipped up. Right? How about Foxy Brown? How about the fact that Sean Carter, right, allegedly was the last man on planet Earth to finally stop supporting R. Kelly, right? After everybody else on planet Earth was like, oh man, don't say that dude's name, right? Whatever you do, this guy allegedly was urinating, right, for giggles on underage women. That's just foul. I'm sorry. Whatever you're into, consenting adults, you want to take a leak on each other, knock yourself out. I don't kink shame, right? But he was doing this to kids, and he was marrying kids. They were on the cover of magazines. So we watch this crap go on. We do, right? Again, if I say Leo DiCaprio, if I say, what is that dude known for? He will not date a girl over 24 or some such crap, right? He likes supermodels that are as close to not being able to drink legally as possible. That's the look of it, right? And I realize that maybe there's this ideal that they build up in the image of the younger, whatever. Miss me with that shit. I'm sorry, man. It starts getting really, really creepy. And when you see people who have it as a business model, who then happen to spend a lot of time with Diddy, say what you will. There's no chance Leo's pictures aren't going to be all over this case because allegedly he went to an awful lot of parties. And as much as everybody tries to backpedal and deny it, right? Big time. Like Ashton Kutcher, well, we hung out. You co-hosted the white party, right? Knock that off. You were co-host. You ain't rewriting history. This thing's evil as far as that goes. You want to rewrite history? It's really hard, right? It's really hard. Because I can go back and look at the images from those years, right? Getty there's billions of pictures of these guys. The number of pictures of all of these people who are questionable, Danny Masterson, P. Diddy, Ashton Kutcher, there are pictures of all of these people together out on the town routinely, right? These guys owned an Italian restaurant together. There was a lot of smoke here. In my humble opinion, I think the sheer scope, magnitude, and people involved across the board, the legal system should make an exception in this instance and allow either cameras in the court, right, in the courtroom, or on sentencing day. How can you argue with that? I do believe that everyone on earth, right, everyone on earth wants this to be televised. Everybody, except the federal government. And I'll tell you why the federal government does not want this to be televised. I'm not kidding. They don't want you to see just how badly the federal government is able to roll over a defendant, right? Like a tank rolling over a 10-speed. As much money as this guy's got, as much power as Diddy's got, and he can throw $100 million at his legal defense, right? He ain't got nothing on the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Prisons, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Homeland Security, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and if you want to throw a couple of other agencies in there, trust and believe there's more out there. Yeah. they don't have a budget. Right? For real. They don't have a budget. They don't have a budget. Big shout out to the people who said, last night I was talking about the amount of information that was taken off of 8 of the 96 devices. And out of 8 of those 96 devices, we had 90 terabytes of information taken out of it. 90 terabytes. By the way, you can put 250 Hollywood feature films on a terabyte. 250 full-length movies on a terabyte. So 90 of them, right, could do just about every movie that has ever been released by Hollywood in the first 20 or 25 years of your life. Whatever's on those particular 8 devices, there's a lot of it. A lot of it. They say that you could take the Library of Congress, right? Now, admittedly, that's going to be a lot more text than it's going to be multimedia kind of stuff. But 20 terabytes would take care of it. Again, I realize we're comparing apples and oranges, but it still sounds a whole lot like there is 4 times, more data that's going to be coming out in the Discovery than there is at, say, I don't know, the Library of Congress. Hey, we're not talking politics here. You hear me? Not doing it. This is not going to happen. Please. You know why, man? Because half of the country disagrees with the other half. It's never going to happen here. I'm sorry. We come here to come together, right? So leave that crap at the door, please. Right? I got views, tons of them. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, right? So don't do it to me or anybody else here. Combs only had 90 devices to Gilgo's 400 devices, which was all extracted by the Department of Justice. He has 96 devices in total so far. And I think this is going to be a little different. As I said last night, hey, Mo, stop. All right? Stop. One more time, and I will turn this boat around. Seriously, don't get bounced. It'd be a really stupid thing. Don't beat a dead horse. Let it go. Let's not forget the 1950s. Case of military inductees, EP, who traveled to Germany to pick up a 14-year-old and transport her internationally back to the U.S., even after Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin. In his defense, I think it was his second cousin, right? It's not funny, but it wasn't his first cousin. I think it was his second cousin. But the 14-year-old would be Lisa Marie Presley, right? And Elvis's first love. Yeah, she was 14. She was 14. And back then it was the same story, right? Back then it was the same story. Well, we didn't do anything until, you know what? King of Delphus says, newsflash, neither political party gives a shat about you. And there's kind of truth to that, in my humble opinion, right? In my humble opinion, I do believe that. So, yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis, and he got ostracized. I mean, there was definitely, his career took a massive hit because he married his cousin, but certainly, there's so much that we allowed to happen, right? In both directions, by the way, in both directions. If you were a black man and you had a white girl in your car, they were going to get you with the Mann Act. In fact, if you look at how many times we've actually prosecuted somebody for the Mann Act and see how many times the people that were prosecuted were white, it doesn't happen very often. That was a law that was put in there just to be racist, lack of a better way to put it. Just to be racist. And it's fairly ugly. That has been going on within our legal system for a really long time, too. Priscilla's the mother, right? Lisa Marie's the daughter. I'm sorry, I do that. Priscilla Presley is who he was bringing back. That was the 14-year-old. The daughter was Lisa Marie. Yeah? Yeah, that's right, because he called his plane the Lisa Marie. Christy says, I would not trust AI. Worked with many telecommunications. International programs can be wrong. Part of a background is legal, civil, and commercial. We are in a place. Ilea was a real one. That's why Beyonce got Jay and Diddy to push her out. Again, how do you argue this? All right. How do you argue this? And there's so much sort of evidence to back up the where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing, right? There's just too much. And again, the proof in the pudding here is this. They're RICOing this. And the people that, the old timers, right? People are going, hey, man, RICO, it's for the mafia, right? This is for like prison gangs, right? RICO is not something that you do to take down a business. Like this isn't people, this doesn't seem right. It's damn right. This dude was the Godfather, right? Read the Cassie Ventura lawsuit. And what the biggest takeaway from that lawsuit is, at no time, he never feared beating the crap out of that woman in front of anyone. Anyone. He did it at parties. He did it in front of women. He did it at restaurants. This dude didn't care. I don't think people are born that way, right? I think that by then he had been beaten on Kim Porter. I think he had been beating on any woman that was unfortunate enough to be his lover. In the Cassie lawsuit, she said that after these freak-offs, right, after she would be abused by 2 to 3 porn stars for a couple of days, often during or right after the freak-off, he would give her a piece of jewelry, right? Like the mind, what that he was doing to these women. Like he literally goes out of his way to damage. Like this is the kind of stuff you do if you're trying to program people for real, right? This is it's terrifying to me. It really is. But with no doubt in my mind, this guy's no different than Don Corleone. He's no different than anybody that is that sits atop of a crime family. Megan Lowe says a bracelet after each incident. Or during it, she said, and she said that over time she started to look at them, right, like they were shackles. They started to take on symbolism. You saw her. Everybody saw that clip of film. It makes you sick. The one from the hotel, right in front of the elevators, literally make you sick. This was not an isolated incident. This was his business model. And he would beat her for the stupidest things in the entire world. In the entire world. Yeah, I got to agree. No disrespect to the memory of Elvis Aaron Presley, but I don't buy him as the king of rock and roll. Rock and roll was around for a really long time, and he basically just stole an awful lot of stuff from people like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and some of the really early blues guys. Looking through the lens of a 2024 mindset, it's hard to believe that back then, in certain places in the South, people were in fact still marrying cousins. Look, while I was deep diving this stuff to put together all of the stuff about which stars seem to be, kind of whose names are popping up or whatever, you start to look at things, and again through the 2024 mindset, cousins and things like, there's a picture of Lindsay Lohan, and I'll be damned, it looks an awful lot like she's got a lip lock on her mother. I know a lot of people have already seen this photo, but it's one of those things that you go, oh my God. Just, oh man. Wasn't his cousin a minor? Yes, ma'am. Talking about Jerry Lee Lewis? Absolutely, his cousin was a minor. The whole thing was really creepy. If I'm not, somebody look it up. I think she was 14. She was young, but she was also related to him. It's, and I feel really horrendous for anybody that's in that situation. I don't make jokes about that stuff. Because there are still people who are products of incest. They are around. That really has happened, and I never want to throw any shade on people like that, even if they're trolls who mock my channel, because there is one. I don't understand how this went on for years and people just let it happen and didn't say anything. No sense of decency for people. Here's the grit your teeth and throw your coffee cup against the wall. Right? This is the section of the lifeboat where I'm really going to get you angry. This isn't like, if you're Busby and 13,000 people call, right? You can cherry pick out of that cases that there's a lot to back up what the people are saying. When you have that many people bum rushing your business to try to tell you their story, trust me when I tell you, he's not going for the, maybe that one, right? They're starting out with stuff that there's a lot to back this kind of stuff up. And he said, you're going to be really surprised when you see how many of these people filled out reports when it happened. Right? It wasn't a case every time where these people thought, oh, Diddy's he's too powerful, or he's too big an entity. I wouldn't dare. No, there were people who went out and sought medical attention. That's how we found out about the xylazine and all that stuff. And there were people that talked to cops. Right? That means that there were cops on staff. Doesn't that have to mean that? And just like I promise, if I'm wrong, I'll come on and apologize, people. I will do it happily. Okay? If I make a mistake, I'll come on and I will apologize, and I will do it happily, like I did earlier today. The third shot at bail did not happen, right? I was reading out of a transcript where the judge brought up bail, and I kind of ran with it. The new judge simply said that he is entertaining anything that they want to talk about. He gave him an out. He gave him the opportunity to file with the new judge, Submarinian, I believe is how you say the guy's name. The new judge will have an opportunity to turn him down again. Now, they had already filed an appeal to the Second Circuit. Now, if you're Diddy's legal camp, you don't want that appeal to go through until you make sure that this third shot at the apple, you want to make sure you're turned down on that before your appeal hits the Second Circuit. So they reached out to him and said, hold on to that, right? Hold on to that. Keep it in abeyance until such time that we know that the new judge says no, right? No, I'm not letting you back out. Then they'll call over there and say, all right, roll with the appeal. People, this is my take on this. Here's my take on this. If by some chance he gets out on bail, then you should go to Vegas and start betting on the fact that he's going to win the case. Because if they let this guy out, in my humble opinion, the fix is in. There's not a judge on earth that sees that video of Cassandra Ventura being beat up the way she is, then reads the indictment. There's no way you go, yeah, he's not a threat to women or to people on the witness list. This guy's not a threat, right? And that's the defense keeps saying he's not a threat. Well, watch that video. And one of the judges said, you know what? I don't care if what happened in that hallway had anything to do with a freak off. Makes no difference. Now, allegedly, there was a male sex worker in that room, and Cassie was trying to escape from that, right? By the way, if that little allegedly is proven, then his case is screwed, right? Because that's the kind of coercion that they're talking about when they're talking about bringing people across state lines and doing all these things. When you put coercion into this and you put a threat of violence as part of the coercion, that's an aggravating factor, right? And we inmates call aggravated factors other names that start with F. It multiplies your sentence. Like if you're a felon in possession of a pew-pew, right, and you got one of these, okay, this carries X amount of time. If you obliterated the serial numbers, that's going to carry a lot more time. If the magazine can take 50 rounds, or anything over 7, I think is the law now, that's going to carry more time. There's all these things. How many of them did you have? 27. Okay, well, that's going to put you into a whole new, there's all of these things that can enhance the amount of time you're looking at. So all of these experts who say to you, he's looking at 15 years at a minimum, there isn't a chance on God's green earth that this cat could get 15 years if he walked in there tomorrow and said, I will plead guilty to everything. Can you give me a deal? They're not giving him 15 years. It's not going to happen. The crimes are heinous, right? There's enough aggravated circumstances to ensure that there's no way that they can cut a deal on this. And Diddy is going to have to go all the way to the box, right? Because what's his other option? You either fight this all the way to the damn finish line, or you go to prison anyway, right? This is not one of those situations that, I mean, honestly, to use a football metaphor, the only hope he has at this point is a Hail Mary, right? That's it. He needs a miracle, and I don't think it's going to happen. Kidnapping and arson alone should exempt bail. Jason Parker, you would think so, right? Again, everybody on planet Earth who has followed this case for any length of time, if I say Kid Cudi, for real, there's almost nobody in America at this point that doesn't go, oh, isn't that the guy that dated Cassie? Then Diddy told people, right, allegedly, that he was going to blow up this car, but he wanted to do it when the guy was home. So they went over. Sadly, it was a Porsche. They cut the roof, which was it's a convertible. They cut the convertible top, threw a Molotov cocktail into the car, and destroyed it. Now, I'm sure Kid Cudi had insurance, but it's one of those things that might scare the hell out of you. Now, this isn't my genre, right? This isn't what I listen to. Has Kid Cudi put out anything since then? Is the guy still in music? Because my guess would be Sean Combs probably tried to destroy his career. And I think if Sean Combs wanted to destroy your career in music, you were probably destroyed, especially if it's within the genre that, the hip hop community. You all right, Kat? Sorry, she was looking at me with a bit of an attitude. She has been working really long hours in defense of the cat. Hey, Miss Dragon, how are you? I hope you're doing well, my sister. I pray for you every day. I want you to know you're in my thoughts and prayers. Corey Feldman was destroyed because he spoke up. He named names. No justice for him. The female singer of Hole named Weinstein. He made sure she never made it in movies. Yeah, you're talking about Courtney Love. Corey Feldman. Here's the thing. I have a really good time clowning on Corey Feldman. I do. I clown on him because of his music career. Maybe it's not nice. I don't do it maliciously, but I do have a good laugh at the guy's expense. I was a huge fan of his movies, all of them. I mean, honestly, he made some great films, and they're a part of my youth. They're a huge part of my youth. And there's always going to be a place, right, for that dude somewhere in my psyche, right? But I got some wicked issues with him, and I did a story on this. I chased down this story about, I don't know, that's been pretty close to a year ago, I think. And the problem with Felddog is that there are a lot of women out there that accuse him of throwing the same kind of parties. He never attended a Diddy party. He'll tell you, not his type of music. He was way too old at that point. But do you remember when he did the video with the Angels? Right? He had all those women that he was filming with. Well, a lot of those people complained. There was a woman who he hired to sort of be the stage manager and everything for his tour, and she came out. And I watched the video she made. She's very believable, and she talks about some really rugged working conditions. And there are people that have accused him of some foul things. They're, allegedly, the guy's not been charged, right? But and he did name names. He did, but if we're going to be really honest about this, he named names after a long time went by. And prior to him naming names, he said stuff like, get me $10 million and I'm going to make a film and then we'll name names, right? Or get me $5 million and we're going to make a film and then we can name the names. But I want to do it this way. I want to do it in a film. No disrespect to the kid, right? To the guy. But if it's me and I want to out people who are hurting kids, I'm not sitting on it for 4 or 5 years while we try to raise enough money to make a documentary, right? It seems to me that's something that you go to the feds, then you go, it's this guy, it's this guy, it's this guy, right? Let's talk. I know people that were assaulted by him. This guy, and this guy, and that girl all got assaulted by him, right? But instead, it really kind of looks like there's this little cabal, right? We're just going to keep this real. I hope I don't offend anybody. But there's this little cabal that seems to be running every aspect of entertainment, all of it, movies, television, right? I don't know about Broadway, but I'm sure that we can look up cases. When you can give somebody a job that's going to make them famous and make them rich, the abuse seems to always be there. Always. Maybe people like Diddy are attracted to this kind of work because they're sick bastards, or maybe this kind of work turns them into sick bastards. And you know what? We could probably speculate on that till the end of time. You know, was Weinstein born Weinstein, or did the power that he had turn him into the scumbag that he is? Same thing could be said of Diddy. You think he was born this way? You know, someone said earlier, do you think he'll talk about his past? Going back to when he was a child. He's talked about it in the past. If he's talking to you about his past, I don't think he's telling you the truth. I think that he has sculpted a narrative that he digs, and I think he's going to stick with it. And that narrative is his dad was a gangster, right? And although his dad died when he was young, that spirit of the gangster and all that is in him. And really not how the story goes, according to most people from that part of the world who were alive at that time. His dad allegedly didn't want to go out of town for a wedding, or wanted to stay in town for a wedding, some such crap like this. I don't remember exactly, but he ratted somebody out because it was convenient and that had something to do with the trip. But they realized that this was a guy. Now, you'll also hear another story that he was on a wiretap, so they erroneously thought, right, that he had set up whatever. The guy got smoked for allegedly being a rat. And depending on who you believe, his wife, Diddy's mom, also got whacked at the same time. That's an allegedly, right? But there are people out there, a lot of them, who say that Diddy's mom is really his aunt. I don't know. I don't. I'm not sure how anybody would be able to prove that. She sure as hell shows up in court for him, right? Routinely. She goes to all of these different court functions, and that's a pain in the keister, right? Even if you love somebody, the process of just going in that building, going up an elevator, I can't tell you how hard it is to get in and out of a federal courthouse. It just sucks, right? You're going to go through metal detectors, and you're going to go through just a lot of indignities. It feels very much like prison in a lot of ways. Let me tell you how frustrating a system it is. You can look up, I believe it was in Michigan. There was a guy that got really frustrated with the system of how long it took. And he went home and he got a weapon, and he came back and fired at the people that were running the metal detector. Not a story I covered. The jerk off was across the hall from me in the special management unit. He got just a ludicrous amount of time. Federal offense. He did it on federal property. And one of these guys, in spite of wearing a bulletproof vest, I believe, was taken off of planet Earth. So he's not very popular with the police, the cops in there. Boy, Sky Queen, I love it when you guys say things like this, because I'm telling you, this is the kind of situation that, honestly, there are inmates out there right now that are doing this. Right? They want to tax that fool when they get there. Here's my store list. This is my girlfriend's name. Get your people on the street to get her $1,000 a week, right? And for $1,000 a week, I'm going to make sure that these vultures don't kill you. I need $1,000 a week. And he says, sure, man, 52 grand a year, right? Easy money. Why would I not do that to protect myself? Trouble is, his best friend ain't going to put up with the fact that you're sending his old lady $1,000 a week, because his best friend's wife, she got to pay the bills too. So he's going to say, here's another number, right? This is my ace deuce. You're going to want this guy for protection too, because me alone, if everybody in here, and the next thing you know, that starts to steamroll. I was on a yard general population at Victorville, California, and there was a Russian guy on the yard. And he was a very strange dude, but he spent tons and tons of cash protecting himself. I don't know why he felt the need to. And it wasn't like contractual, like what I'm describing. What it was this guy bought all the dope he could get on the yard and got people high with it for free. This kind of crap doesn't happen unless you're a predator and you want to. This guy did it simply because he wanted everybody in there to be his friend. Elaine, thank you. What a very kind thing to say. Do you know, I'm not kidding at all. That is one of my favorite things to hear. Of every compliment that you can get doing this, when people say, I love your content, I swear to you, that's just, I'd like to think that we're putting stuff out that moves the ball forward and gets people thinking. You can listen to Diddy stuff all over the place. There's about a gazillion of us that are going to be talking about it. But I'd like to think that what we do here, it allows you people, right? You people to really help me out as well with people that do research and email me things. This happens constantly. Like when I was talking about all of that information, I said, how many agents you got to put through that? And I got a couple of comments in one email from someone that said, come on, this is Diddy. Do you really think that all that stuff wouldn't have been organized? It's probably in there by greatest hits, the stuff that's worth the most money, like if you had a politician, right? There's got to be, if you're making tapes of people, some of those tapes are really valuable. And some of them are, and again, the blackmail people, you realize that. Think of anybody that you could put on this list and start to think how controlling someone at the top echelon of whatever they do can enrich you, right? These guys sign all of these people to record deals. Well, if you've got a picture of them of a man being violated by two men, you got video of that, right? When it comes time to renegotiate that contract, I would imagine that you could pay him a hell of a lot less. And I would imagine that when this is all said and done, we're going to see that he did a lot of screwing and screwing over of all of the people that ended up on his record label. 50 Cent seems like controlled opposition or getting ahead of the narrative. I'm fascinated by 50 Cent and the animosity that he seems to have with Diddy. Now, they're allegedly his baby's mama was a S worker for Diddy. And Diddy loved that because this is the kind of crap that he lives for, right? He can say, you know what, I banged your old lady. Like, this is honestly, that you realize this is bad wiring, right? Seriously. If you happen to have the same equipment as I do you spend a lot of time in your life trying to go up and, setting your sights on sleeping with somebody you don't like's wife? Seriously, who does this crap? He came to believe, in my humble opinion, by the end, he was Jeffrey Dahmer, right? How Dahmer got out of control. These serial killers start killing 2 or 3 people over the course of a day. Instead of everything they've always done that's methodical, I think that by the end of this, he did everything he could. I think that he was so brazen. If you believe, right, that the 9-year-old story, mom and dad are in there. They're there. They may be on the other side of a wall or whatever, but they're there. What kind of arrogance? How bulletproof do you have to feel like you are to be able to do the things that you're doing, knowing full well you're getting caught, right? Allegedly, several people AR'd a 9-year-old. You think that guy went home without injuries? You think he went home without needing some kind of care? 9, it's a baby. No, man. Like the arrogance it takes to do this kind of stuff, right? He is and was as out of control as possible. And the proof is him. The proof is here. He knew he knew that they were coming. They kicked the door in. He knew after that he's going to get arrested. He's got a legal team. They're already talking about their defense. They're talking about whether or not he should be going and turning himself in New York. Nothing sneaking up on anybody. You follow me? They knew what day the grand jury started to meet. They knew all of the people that were going in there and testifying. They knew all this. We didn't. Trust me, he knew all of it. So what is he doing? Is he at home shaking like this, nervous? No, he's having freak offs into July of this year. That's either you are the most arrogant son of a bitch that ever lived, and you just think nobody can touch you, or you're so addicted to not only the power, right, but the humiliation and the torment and all of the things that particular lifestyle. I got somebody who is a swinger sent me an ugly email. If you're a swinger and you and your wife want to go and have sex with another man, I'm not crapping on anybody's lifestyle. What they were doing is not a lifestyle. If you hire male porn stars, right? And without getting too graphic or getting demonetized, he wanted to make sure that these guys were well endowed. That was a big thing, right? Gene Deal talks about it, a bunch of people talk about it, that they had to be really hung. And then what he's going to do is act like a director and have either 2 or 3 or sometimes more abuse his girlfriend while he directs this. So after some of these, he would have to stay at hotels for long periods of time until all the bruising healed. This ain't swinging. This isn't sex. Nothing to do with it. Sadly, it really doesn't. It has nothing to do with sex. And I know that it probably looks like this is a sex thing, and you keep hearing people talk about it. Well, there's so much sex in this. It's going to be, this isn't about that. It was a weapon that was used, but I promise you, it wasn't about that. It was about power, and it was about everything else. Diabolical is a hell of a word, isn't it? A few minutes late, but as a person who grew up and works in Hollywood, I loathe Corey Feldman for good reason. Also, there are definitely people in entertainment I consider mob bosses. Thank you for an inside opinion. It's always valued. I have a couple of other people that are members of the Lifeboat, who have been members of the Lifeboat for a while, who work directly in this industry, right, in different ways, who say the same thing, that there are people that, Harvey Weinstein, when Seth MacFarlane went on stage and he was supposed to be reading, I think it was best female actor in a movie, he said, the Oscar goes to, she gets an Oscar, and she no longer has to pretend that Harvey Weinstein is attractive. That dig that he did, and everybody in the audience sort of laughed, and then you'd see people looking at one another while they were laughing, because everybody in the audience knew. There was nobody in that building that didn't know that the way you got into this dude's films was because he was going to essay you. Everybody in the room knew. You go back and watch the clips. When he drops that joke, it's not just giggle, right? It's like when what's his name brought up Epstein. What's the name of the guy that did The Last Year? He's a Brit, and he absolutely shredded them, right? But he said he brought up Epstein, and they all started to, there was like booing and that kind of a noise, and he went, "What? He's your friend, not mine. He's your friend." The people in that audience looking at one another, looking horrified, right? They're not looking horrified because they don't know what he's talking about. They're looking horrified because everybody in the flipping business knew who you could accept a drink from and who you couldn't. Who was going to make you do X, Y, or Z to get into a film and who wasn't. Which people, right? Which people are stone cold predators to kids? You tell me they didn't know. Everybody knew. This isn't a secret. It would be disturbing as hell if it was, but it's not. And that makes it so disturbing that it is. You know what? I wasn't going to bring him up. Ricky Gervais. Thank you, Robert Hall. Tom Hanks, his reaction to that entire thing was frightening. Sorry. If you're a fan, I'm not accusing the guy of doing anything. You hear me? I'm not. What I'm telling you is, if you watch his reaction, it's not normal. It's not normal. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Christy says Marilyn Manson branded a bimbo, yet owned her own production company. Lawford connected to Kennedy, Rat Pack. He was brother-in-law or something, right? Lawford was. How was he related? I'm brain farting viciously. Well, Cassandra, I appreciate that. Prison stories we will be doing every Sunday. Steve, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Dorothy Povolo. I'm glad that we got you some info here. Tom Hanks is allegedly part of the Red Shoes. What was that? I lost it because you're throwing comments up so damn fast that it's almost impossible to keep up. Peter Lawford, thank you so much. I am lost on the Ricky Gervais situation. Okay, so here's the deal. Ricky Gervais hosted the Academy Awards. And usually when they get in there, there's some friendly ribbing where they pick on certain actors and everybody kind of laughs at it. You know, back in the day, Robin Williams would host and he picked on Gary Busey for falling off of a motorcycle, right? Because he had just had an accident. And they drop little jokes that are kind of timely and relevant. This dude started talking about how, you know, if you know, the Nazis had a streaming service, you'd have your agents calling them on Monday, right? He dropped jokes that were designed to really hit him. Like, you guys think that you're super special. Get up, get your award, shut the F up and go sit down because nobody wants to hear what you're saying anyway. He went that route. And then he went full on scorched earth and started talking about Harvey Weinstein and what all that meant. And people were like, oh, there's grumbling. And he goes, what? He's your friend. He's not my friend. He was your friend. And make no mistake, he was friends with a lot of people in that room. A lot of people in that room. You know, you can say the people that made movies with him, right? You know how many people out there say, oh, it was a pleasure to work with Harvey Weinstein. Fantastic. Professional operation. Yeah, because you didn't wear a skirt. If you had testicles, I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that made a lot of money with him and thought it was a grand operation. The women, however, that got parts in these films, I don't think view it the same way, right? But everybody knew. Everybody knew. Tom Hanks is allegedly part of the Red Shoe Club. There you go. I don't know what the Red Shoe Club is. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't have any idea. I've never heard of it. Married to JFK's sister. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, he also pointed at him, says short note carry. He did. He's your friend. He's your friend. But immediately, the second that happened, right, the look on the faces of the people in that studio, in that auditorium said everything you need to know, right? They said, this guy shouldn't be on stage. He's picking on us. He's letting people talk about, he's talking about stuff that we shouldn't talk about in public, right? You know, the fact that a lot of us, as a hobby, a lot of us like to have intercourse with underage kids. Now, we don't want them ruining this for us. Get them off stage. That was the look. I'm not kidding. The look from everybody was like, wait a second, how the hell did they let this go on, right? Patchy says, do not let these women get away with their complicity. And you know what? Everybody has to take some responsibility for things. And I get a lot of just misogynists that send me emails to tell me how these chicks knew exactly what they were making a deal for. And if you're that Cro-Magnon, right, lose my email. I'm not going to respond to you. I'm not even going to send you "you're an idiot" back email, right? So just save it. But there is responsibility. There absolutely is responsibility. But the example I always give is this. If I showed up at a woman's prison tomorrow, right, I started walking up and down the aisles of a woman's prison and going through the corridors of the units, going up to each cell going, hey, I'd like to cut a deal with you, right? It's going to require you getting naked and we're going to go hit a room, but I'm going to let you out of prison when we're done. No joke. I'll get you release papers. Everything will be drawn up. If she says yes, is that consent? Because if you answer yes to this, you have no concept of what's going on, right? That's not consent. If you're leveraging something that has so much power over somebody, like freedom or being locked up. And if you go, well, it's nothing like that. No, it's not. It's bigger. It's bigger. It's you've wanted to be a star your entire life. You've worked for it. You've trained for it. You've got some demos out there. Things are good. I'm going to SA you. You're going to get R'd if you want to be in this business. So if you want to go, you can go. And that will make you rich, famous. I'm going to give you a 4-album deal today. But you're going to have to let me do this, right? It's not just we do this or we don't. If you don't, by the way, I'm going to destroy you in this industry. And I am a godfather. Because when that cat, if you believe, allegedly, what happened at the in the stock room at Macy's, in their flagship store in New York, if you believe that somebody was essayed in the stock room, right, in there, and again, I'm believing everybody until there's reason not to. I'm going with the assumption that Busby has the pick of the litter and he's picking stuff that he's going to be able to document. That's what I'm going with, right? But the guy worked for Mark Echo, I believe was the company, yeah? Then he managed to get him fired, not just from Macy's, can't be there anymore, to get him fired from his competitor. That's like if you're a dude who runs Coca-Cola and you get somebody at Pepsi fired because you S8 him, in a storeroom. How much clout does the dude have in the industry that he can make these kind of things go away? Right? We talk about 3 decades of this. How many scumbags had that moment of truth where they went, I got to tell somebody about this. I got to tell somebody about this, right? I have to. Then they didn't, right? That moment, whether they got bought off, whether they wanted to keep their career, whether they were worried this guy was going to take them off planet Earth, a lot of people had that moment, right? There had to be thousands of them. Just reading the Cassie lawsuit, the number of times that dude did this to her in front of people everywhere, dragging her by the hair, kicking her. You read all of the abuse that took place at this guy's hands. And one of the bodyguards even says, yeah, everybody knew. Everybody knew, right? That you had to fly in a plastic surgeon because of all of the damage you did to the woman you love. This was known? All right, you're all lowlifes. I'm sorry. There's nobody that gets a pass on this, right? Nobody gets a pass on this. And if you disagree with me on that, I can't, I'd honestly have a struggle to know, where do you come from if you disagree with that? It's just one of those things that, yeah, I do know that the red shoe thing does translate back to exactly what we're talking about, which is the victimization, right, of kids, right? Somebody asked earlier in the night about party favors, right? And yeah, I believe that very often he was giving these people or these children. These were gifts. These were party favors. These were things that if you were really in the inner sanctum, where do you see this 14-year-old boy, right, that we just signed to our label? There's a video. We've talked about it on this channel so many times. There's a video of Justin Bieber in a club, and they got people watching for lookout, and he's in what looks like a very compromising position with an athlete that used to play for the New York Giants, Odell Beckham. You may remember him. He had his hair would always be blonde on the top and darker down below, and he had hands like Velcro. You got a ball anywhere near this cat, he could hold on to it. Absolutely incredible how good this guy's hands were. He's doing one of 2 things in that video, right? Watch it. Don't take my word for it. Go watch it. But he's doing one of 2 things in that video. And it doesn't matter which one. If you're allowing somebody 14 to do either of those things, one of them is he's doing a great big of the Bolivian marching powder, right? I don't believe that that's what he was doing. But that has kind of been postulated as an excuse. If your excuse for what's going on is, oh, don't worry about it, the 14-year-old's just doing lines. Wow. How bad's the other option if that's the one you got to go with? The other is that he was giving him a mouth hug in a nightclub while other men watched as to make sure that they're not going to get caught. And sure as hell, when Bieber comes up, there's really something that just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. Nothing about that looks right. And I'll tell you something. I hope that, honestly, I hope Odell Beckham steps on a Lego every single time he comes downstairs in the morning for the rest of his life. I hope that if what happened in that video is what it looks like, I really hope this destroys him in every sense of the word. I hope that everybody on planet Earth will know what this guy is and who this guy is. That's my hope for this trial. My hope for this trial is that because these two things are running parallel, this stuff coming out of Texas is going to get us a long list of names. I think that because of that law, it's going to make the powers that be have a very difficult time making this go away, right? They're going to have a very difficult time making this go away. It's different than every other one that's ever come before it. It just is. Yo holo ho says Diddy had 756 dildos too. I didn't know the exact count. I did know it was somewhere between 700 and 800, and that's certainly a lot of sex toys. Gene Deal said he was very fond of butt plugs, and that he was buying them for himself, not for other people. Once again, I don't care. Honestly, jam anything you want up your backside, and I'm not going to judge you about it, because I'll tell you something. You're not going to find a guy that did time. If there was something he really wanted to keep, that's where he hid it. There isn't an inmate on planet Earth that has not hooped something that they didn't want to lose, because it is the only way that you're going to keep something that you don't want to lose. Yeah. Joda Calixto, I think. That's something that's hard to understand. There is lots of interviews from the bodyguards saying that it's true and that they saw it. Why they are not in cuffs also. Patience. To anyone who is looking at this and saying, where are the rest of the RICO indictments? Where are all of the other people, man? How do you have a RICO case and arrest one person? That doesn't make any sense, right? This is a crime organization. We should see a perp walk that looks like they're doing the locomotion. There should be like 70 people looking like they're all heading into the courtroom with their hands behind their backs, wearing some belly chains, right? That's what we want. And I know that that's what everybody wants. Are we going to get that? I don't know if it'll be that dramatic, but there are going to be a lot of people from his business. Think about it in terms of, you guys are law nerds, a lot of you. How are you not going to do it? For real. This is not something that you can make go away at this point. It's too much out in the zeitgeist, right? Everybody on Earth knows what's going on. And I mean on Earth. I get people from countries that, I mean, it just absolutely shocks me. And they'll write to me on Diddy and have questions that, like, really well thought out questions. I do believe, after reading you guys, your take on it, I do believe that he probably had an awful lot of trophies. He probably had this thing organized so that he could go right in there and go, oh, you want to see J-Lo? Boom. Oh, you want to see so-and-so? Boom. Me assuming that all of this was raw footage probably isn't intelligent in hindsight. But I got the greatest crew in the world, and you guys often turn me on to the thoughts that take me in different directions. And I love that about you guys. Laura Lee Smith says they're making room in that jail right now. People, I'm going to tell you something. Let me just throw out a few names for you, right? Let's just throw out a few names. For instance, the bodyguards, all of them. Sorry, Gene Deal. All of them. I love Gene Deal. I think he's a great dude. But he saw a lot of stuff, right? Saw a lot of stuff. when you describe things that you saw that victimize women and you did nothing about it, right? Now, can you charge somebody just for being, yeah, you can. You really can. Misprison, I believe is the name of the law, misprison of something or other. But the point is, there are bodyguards that said, watched it, took her to the hospital. There were people that watched and covered up. They're going to get hemmed up in this. They're absolutely going to get hemmed up in this. They can't not. KK, you don't think KK's getting hemmed up in this? This woman is my right-hand man. His words. It's on his Instagram. And Ethiopia Hoptamarium is a name that keeps coming up allegedly for being another one of those fixers, and you need your fixer to be a woman, right? There is absolutely no way in hell that you're going to be able to send a guy in to try to unruffle feathers. How many times do you think KK had to sit down with a victim and say, yeah, you got out of control last night. You were drinking up a storm, and the person's going, no, that's just not like me. Yeah, no, we were kind of shocked too. But, and then, you were all over these people for real. They're planting the narrative in people who straight black out the entire night or most of it. This is terrifying. A woman that has that job needs to be hooked up to a bumper and driven around the neighborhood. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. Kristen Melinda, tossing them out like hot sauce packets. We had 5 people just turn green. I love that. 7th son, member for 21 months and on the boat since day 1. Literally been here since we started this puppy. Thank you, 7th. I appreciate that. He says, please hit the like button, and I really wish you would. Susie in Paradise, 3 months. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? And she says, another great show. I really appreciate that. Not related to Diddy, says Judy Jetson. Me, George Jetson. Daughter Judy, right? Yeah. Not related to Diddy, but my heart breaks every time I see the recent pictures of Amanda Bynes. I shudder to think what happened to her. Well, I think we know what happened to her, right? She got Hollywooded. She was a minor, and she got treated the way minors get treated when they're on shows in Hollywood. And if you think this is speculation, go watch any of the shows that they were making, iCarly, all those shows that came out. And we're an hour and 37 minutes into this. There is a money shot in almost every one of those videos. Exaggeration. But I would say probably 1 out of every 10 videos at some point in there had a spray bottle or something that was going to spray, right, something into the face of a prepubescent girl. It happens so often that when you go back and watch this stuff, by the third, how did the people making this not go, hey, why are we doing another thing with it? This is starting to look like a porn film. What the hell are we doing here? Nope. Just kept cranking it out. Just kept cranking it out. And nobody there saw this as a problem. And I agree with you, Judy. You see her and she's got ink on her face, and obviously she struggled with substances. I am of the firm belief that no matter how far out you get on substances, you can always come back, right? I really believe that because I have to. But it's hard. The Nurse Who Loved Me. I haven't watched your latest video with Sean yet, but I'll be listening to it after this while I do uni assignments. Very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you and all of the support. The amount of love that the Lifeboat is getting is nothing shy of remarkable. And I promise you, I'm not losing sight of it. This is we're currently growing by about 120 people a day is what we've been averaging, and that's the kind of dream that you want to happen, and it never does, and it doesn't last forever. There was a time when stuff like this happened, I thought it would last forever. I'm no longer stupid, but I'm humbled every time this happens. And I'm more excited about it this time because the audience that's coming over requires almost no time to kind of acclimate to the boat. You follow what I'm saying? I think because of the fact that most of the fans that are coming over from the Sean Atwood program have already come to grips with the fact that, you know what? The host has been to prison, right? The fact that Sean's been to prison and is universally loved over there, I think made it a lot easier for me to go on. More often than not, I'm not going on the show on an interview with another convict. And if I am, no hard feelings to anybody but if I'm going on someone's show who happens to be a convict, very often they're a convict that people don't love. It's one of those things. Love this boat. You know what? Not more than I do. I love this boat. 4 months. Thank you, Crafty Witch, a.k.a. Mrs. Jason P. You have a good time at that at HorrorCon. It's not HorrorCon, but it's something like that. It's some kind of con. Bone Mama. Hi from Phoenix, Arizona. You're just down the street. You're just down the street. Hey, Mikey. Says, absolutely love your channel. I appreciate that. I really do. I really appreciate that. Chrissy in Maui. Chrissy from Maui. I'm here with you again and just checking in, enjoying my Maui evening with you. And you on Sean's channel has been great. Thanks. Thank you, Chrissy. And you know what? We're going to call this puppy a night because my poor cat has worked so hard today. Snow Lion says, I never think about what people did in their past unless it's really, really weird. And you know what? Here's the thing. I am of the firm belief, right? That a person can change, right? A person can change. I'm proof of that. Sean Atwood is proof of that. JD Delay is proof of that. Jumpsuit Pablo is proof. There are a lot of guys that have managed to get out of prison and stay out of prison. And they're really trying to leave the earth a better place than they found it. I love what JD's doing. He's got a community that they talk a lot about recovery and sobriety and living your best life. That's all good stuff, man. It really is. Jay Rambo, worth missing some sleep over? Well, that makes the two of us because I've been missing a lot of sleep. Can you see how cool she's looking? Look at that. Oh, you got a yawn for me? No, not in the mood. That is a cat in a basket, everybody. Thank you, Jamie Smith. I really appreciate you. I will see all of you tomorrow. Hey, V-Bombs. Much love. V-Bombs is in New York. I just got the yawn. It's a good kitty. All right, people. I will see you on tomorrow's show. Between now and then, reach out and try to save somebody. Good night.